part again. What is wrong with me? There we go.
Oh,
So
okay.
what is it like to work for Brett Granger?
It is a roller coaster.
Okay.
I'll put it like that. No, it's really good. I've learned a lot from Brett. From right when I started, he was actually my manager at the time, like my trainer person. So I've worked with Brett for like a long time, and I don't know. It is a lot of fun. There is moments where you do want to strangle him. Definitely, Sue put it in a great way. And it's good to have a leader like that, though, that always pushes you, that makes you want to strangle them, but can also tap you on the back and say you did a really good job that day.
Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. Here's a really good question. How do you cut through the tension and the pressure when you're phone closing?
It's just like in the demo, right? It's a transfer of emotion. So for you dealers, when you hear your rep struggling on the phone, get to know your reps' voices. Because I can tell when Gavin is having a hard time in the house. I can tell when Chad is needing that little extra oomph. So when you're phone closing as a manager, it's your guys' duty for them to bring them back up to where they need to be. So for experienced reps, it's kind of just taking a moment and just saying, okay, Gavin, we got this, and then go into closing. Like take a deep breath. If he's talking really fast, I'll tell him, okay, slow it down, Gavin. Or Chad's talking super fast because he talks like Brett sometimes. I gotta say, okay, you gotta relax a little bit and then keep going. Or if Darcy would have like a little bit of a monotone voice, you gotta tell him, okay, let's pump it up, and then go with the phone closing after that.
Fantastic. Okay, here's a good question from Tom Nasu. Similar to the previous question, when you're phone closing with a new rep, do you tell them what to say and have them go back and ask the customer, or do you get the customer on the phone directly?
That's a really, really good question. It all depends. So if it's a brand new rep and let's say they're demoing their mom and dad, I always know who they're demoing because I ask, who is this to you? Is it uncles, aunties, friends, whatever the case may be? If it's their parents, I'll actually tell them what to say over the phone because I want them to take the opportunity to learn how to actually do it. If it's a friend, an uncle, somebody like that, I'll take over. I'll ask them, which package would they choose? That's what I get them to figure out. And if they would do it monthly, and then I'll say, okay, great. Can I talk to whoever? And then I'll take over from there.
Okay. Do you ever have where they have the customer on speaker so everyone can hear, or does that depend on the rep and the situation?
It definitely depends on the situation. Mostly I'll just be talking to one person's ear.
Okay.
If it is depending, sometimes the rep will put me on speakerphone. I don't mind being on speakerphone, but typically I like to be in one person's ear because it's just me talking to them. And then if I need to, I can always jump into the other person's ear. I'll say, okay, if I know that I'm not in the right person's ear, if that makes sense. So if it's the decision maker, you always know who the decision maker is in the home. So if I know that I'm not in the decision maker's ear, I'll say, okay, can you pass me over to Rowena? And then I'll tell Rowena exactly what I told the husband. Okay.
Very, very good. Love that. Love that. Okay. From Bruce, what are some of your favorite tie down questions during the demo?
Definitely love I definitely love the one where when you ask them, if money is the only thing stopping you from investing today. Love that one. Another one is in one of my favorites, actually, is when you're explaining I'm having a blank. Home insurance. There it is. Mm-hmm. Home insurance. When you're explaining home insurance and you ask them, now family is the most important thing to you, right? Yeah. I take my time explaining that because that is such an important question that you need them both to say yes to, because there's no point in them investing if they don't think their family is important enough to have the system.
pretty loaded question, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, here's another good question from Bruce. How much time do you spend on the warm-up?
Oh, depends, Carmen. What home am I in? Am I with a 90-year-old lady, or am I with a young couple? If I'm with a family, I know that when they have kids, I've got limited time. Because if it's bedtime, if it's whatever the case may be, I know I got limited time. So I try and keep it within the 15 to 20-minute range. I try and keep it there, because it's a good time to do the warm up. If I'm with an 80-year-old lady, it could take anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes.
Okay, so you kind of feel it out, and you kind of feel when you've gotten to that point where there's a good conversation and a good vibe going on.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, an old lady, all she does is just wants to talk, or an old man, they just want to have fun. They never get visitors. They're lonely.
Fair enough. Okay, another good question. Now, everybody has, be super successful, you have to be good at pretty well selling every type of customer. There's so many different types of customers, but everybody has that one favorite customer that when you walk in, you just know you got this. When I was a sales rep, as a salesman, the one demo that I knew I sold every single time that most people in the office didn't want to go on was young single guys. Give me a young single guy in the apartment, I'm going to sell it almost every time when it was the vacuum business. What is the one customer you walk in and you go, I got this?
I kind of giggled when you were interviewing Bruce, because with Bruce, he mentioned, if they got gnomes in the yard and they got a ton of stuff, those are my favorite. Hoarders are my favorite. You can put me in front of like $1 million home,
yeah,
and I would be like, oh, great. Okay, we got this, Taylor. But you put me, I pull up in front of a home and I see gnomes everywhere, all the little trinkets, the little knickknacks. So I'm like, oh, this lady's got stories. This family's got, like, get me in there. I'm super excited when I see those homes, modern day homes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. What are most of your customers more concerned with, price or payments?
Payments.
Okay.
Yeah, payments.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. What percentage of your customers do you take the budget plan compared to Visa, cash, check?
I'd say 80-20. 80 for the monthly plans, 20 for outright. I've actually, believe it or not, just started really, really getting good at outrights when we joined OmniShield.
Okay.
I never really did outrights, but since being in this, I've gotten a lot more checks and visas.
Absolutely. Well, again, that in itself is a skill set. Everybody here knows that my two brothers, Darren and Bruce, are both out there and they're dealers and they're selling. I can honestly tell you they probably run 65, 75% credit cards. If the customer, when they're doing the credit up for the payment plan, has a credit card, they're going to stop right there and say, hey, you get miles on that credit card?
Yeah. Do you collect points?
Absolutely. Good thing. How do you cover the interest objection? It doesn't even come up very often.
It doesn't come up often. That's a hard question. But if it ever does come up, I just let them know that it's completely open-ended. I really take it away from, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I think a big thing that happens with even some of my reps, I'm not too sure if anybody else who can relate to it, but if you spend too much time worrying about the interest rate, then you're not even on the topic anymore that you should be. You're trying to fight something that's not even really that big of a deal. And if it is the interest rate, then just simply ask them, okay, obviously, Carmen, you deal with a lot lower interest rates. Do you have a credit card that's lower? Is your credit line? And then, try and move them that way. If they say no, then just say, okay, well, it is completely open-ended. So you are able to pay this off whenever you want. And then carry on.
Love that answer. What are your goals for 2020?
Open up. Yeah, I'm super, super excited. After this is done, and it's not going to fully be done, but when it's more of okay, it's just the coronavirus.
So how excited are you about opening up?
I'm super excited. I'm ready. I think I spent enough time behind somebody else. Sorry, Brett, but I'm ready.
So is that your way of saying it's about time you're going to get in front of them?
Yeah.
Okay. What is
Watch
your
out.
favorite part of the OmniShield business?
Pardon?
What is your favorite part about the OmniShield business?
Recruiting. Recruiting's my favorite part about, giving the opportunity. Also the leads are a lot easier. I love referrals. Recruiting and referrals in OmniShield is definitely a really big thing.
Do you remember your first in-home personal recruit?
I do. Her name is Sue Jenna.
Okay.
Oh.
Now, I remember you telling me the story that you were finishing the demo and you weren't even going to mention it.
No.
And then as an afterthought, you decided to.
Yeah,
What little light bulb moment happened that made you decide to, I'm going to mention it to this one? I mean, you'd done a lot of demos before that.
And Sue Habib was not mine. But I've done a lot of demos. I think maybe when I was in water, I had one person that told me they were interested and then never showed up. So for somebody who actually showed up, it was Sue. And I've done a lot of demos before that, but I never focused on it. It wasn't a thing for me to do in previous things that I've sold. So when we got into this, I was like, okay, I knew that money was part of the thing for them. So I just decided, you know what, why not give it a whirl? And then lo and behold, they showed up at the open house and I was like, well, damn.
Okay, so how excited are you about in-home recruiting now?
How excited am I recruiting now?
Yeah.
Very. To see sorry, Luca's playing with contracts. But to see how it changes somebody's life now. Watching Sue, watching any other person that's come into our company and how it's changed them, it's definitely makes you more wanting to go into homes and do the opportunity.
Fantastic. And you're definitely one of the best at it.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Van C would like to know, if you could, would you rather go back a year and do it over again or jump forward a year?
Oh, forward a year. Get me out of 2020.
Yeah, I'm sure I think there's a lot of us right now are starting to feel that way. Absolutely.
Yeah,
awesome.
If I could take my brain how it is now and I'd go forward. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a really good question. Actually, a top-notch question from Brett. When are you going to get organized?
That's a good question.
Do you have an answer?
I am already organized.
Okay. I'm sure there's a reason for that. From April, why do you love direct sales?
Oh, I will tell everybody this in my training all the time, right from the get-go. I love it because I come from grocery store, co-op grocery store, Tim Hortons background before I even touched sales. And I hated, I've always had a really good work ethic because I don't know if this is a compliment to myself, but I'm small-minded. So I get distracted really easily. I have to keep going and going. So when I was working in a grocery store, it frustrated me when I would be the one facing in the aisles, making sure the grocery store looked really nice. But then Joe Blow over in the corner was getting paid the exact same as me and had his finger up his butt. So it really, really bothered me. So when I got into sales and I had complete control over that, it was a really cool feeling. It was a neat feeling to know that, okay, Taylor, if you're going to be lazy, you're only going to get $100 paycheck. You're only going to get whatever. But if you're going to work your butt off like you know you can, then there's no reason you shouldn't make $1,000+ in a week.
Fantastic.
I like
that answer. Who's your favorite superhero?
I have so many. Favorite superhero. Oh, I feel like if I said Superman, it would just be an easy way out. I think Spider-Man, to be honest. I've always loved Spider-Man. I've always loved the background of him with his grandparents, just coming out of his shell and being that big person that goes and saves people. I love Spider-Man.
Good answer. I like that. I agree with you that one completely for different reasons though.
Mhm.
How do you save a deal?
Oh,
I know it's a stressful situation going into somebody's customer's house who's obviously got buyer's remorse and with somebody else who did the demo. How do you save a deal?
I love saving deals. Okay. The biggest thing is they've already been sold, so you don't have to worry about that part. Um, Going into a save is like going into a demo. They have to like you. So, you know, it's the same thing. You build your warm up with them, you talk with them, get to know them, and then you sit down with them in front of, you know, I ask them for their folder, and then I look through their folder, make sure that everything was done right with the rep. If it wasn't, then I can touch up on it. But the biggest thing, even I started doing, I didn't really do it as well as David Carter did, you know, just by asking them, you know, well, what makes you guys want it? Just being so straight up, I'd kind of take my little circles around it. But I'd eventually get to, you know, like, why do you want to remove the system from your home? And then you're going to hear a bunch of word vomit again. So it's just going back to negotiating and back to figuring out what they can do. You know, you don't want to go into a save thinking, okay, great, like, it's all they want is a cancel. That's all that's on their mind. You have to get into a save too. This is the biggest thing. I'll let everybody know. Saves need to be done next day or day after. If it's a week later, it's dead. It's so gone. They've already convinced themselves that there's no change in their mind. You have to get into that house the next day or the day after that day.
Absolutely. Get there as quick as possible.
Yeah.
What do you like about in-home recruiting and media hiring?
Oh, they're so different. The thing with in-home, I like that they're already convinced. So the training's a lot easier. It's more faster. You're just really just teaching them about the passion. You're just, you know, showing them how the structure is of the demo. With the media hire, though, what I like about them is you get to put so much more passion into them. You get to really sell them on the opportunity as well, in your own way. Yep. When you're a trainer, because you don't really know how the opportunity was pitched to them previously. So you kind of go into an unknown water, or maybe they're all different. Right. But with media hires, I've always been used to them too.
Fantastic. You are right now on pause. Later.
Oh,
there you go.
Perfect. You pause.
You're back. Okay, excellent. Okay. How do you teach new people to call in from a client's home, a customer's home?
Okay. It all has to do within the training. So at the end of the training, all I teach them is, okay, guys, I want you to figure out what package they need, solidify a package, and then just let me know if it was just coming down to the money for them. And then so when they get on the phone, I ask them, I coach them through, you know, on the phone close, coach them through it. And then they'll tell me, okay, you know what, Taylor, they really like level 2. That'd be something that they would want. And then say, okay, awesome. And was it just coming down to the money? And they say, yeah, it was just coming down to the money. And I'll say, great job, Carmen. Okay, can I talk to your aunt or uncle? And then that's how I go next.
That's how you coach them. That's awesome. Lisa would like to know, you do a lot of roles: safety advisor, trainer, manager, cleaner, just about everything else. If you could focus on one part, on one of the roles, which role do you love the most and why?
I think being a manager, I'd focus on the most. What I love more is being a safety advisor, though. I love going into people's homes. That was one thing I know, because you never know what your day is going to be like when you're a safety advisor. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know anything. I love that. But a role that I do still love being a manager, because I love helping other people. But I definitely do want to focus on it more, because there's so many hidden things in the background that, you know, Brett does still to this day that I don't even know. So focusing on that so that I could be the #1 dealer and kick his butt.
I like the challenge. I love it. What age did you start in direct sales?
Well, I was 19. I started on November or October 6th, and then I turned 20 on the 13th. So technically, I was 19.
Okay. And how were you recruited? Like, what method was recruited? Did you recruit from an ad? Was it a person recruit?
Mhm.
How were you brought in?
Indeed, by a lovely, juicy, looking like ad.
What did it
I
say?
got.
You remember?
Um, no, I don't really remember it. I remember seeing the pay though, and I remember looking at what they were looking for in a person, and I'm like, oh yeah, I fit that. I could do that. Well, that sounds like me. I could do that. And then I drove 2 hours to an interview because at the time I was still living in Niqua. I was planning on moving to Winnipeg. So I drove 2 hours for this interview and 2 hours back.
And did you know what the job was about when you're going to the interview, or just no clue? Just you qualified based on what they asked, and that's all you needed.
Yeah.
You ticked all the
Yeah.
boxes.
They're send your resume in. And then they call you, oh, your resume looks great. Yeah, okay.
Okay, fantastic. Love it. At what age did you become a manager?
A year later. So I guess that would be like 21-ish.
Okay, 2021. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to young people starting out right now?
Keep going. Definitely keep going. I was the worst rep when I started, Carmen. I'll tell you. Yeah, I was the worst. Brett and our other boss at the time, they were ready to fire me. And I'll tell this to all new reps. I was not, a natural born at this. When I started in sales, I was the shittiest rep. I literally went 30 days, a whole month, with no sales. Not one.
Why did you stay?
I was the best gift giver. I'm too stubborn. I'm way too stubborn. I was like, wow, I'm doing really shitty at this, but I kept doing demos. I just kept going and I kept going and I kept going. I'm like, there's got to be it. And eventually Brett kind of ticked me off. That was my light switch, actually. And I'll tell everybody this when I'm training them. Everybody has a light switch. You just got to find when it flicks. Okay. And Brett had ticked me off, and then I was like, okay. And I hated Brett when I first started. Like, I did not like him at all. He was a dink. And but lo and behold, if he wasn't a dink, then I wouldn't have asked the customer, okay, why didn't you buy from me? And then she had told me it was because there wasn't enough urgency.
That question.
Huh?
Your white light switch was him pissing you off, and you asking the customer that simple question: why didn't you buy?
Why didn't you buy from me? She had told me. She said, Taylor, you are such a great salesperson. Yet I was just gift giving. I was just giving her a free gift. So I was like, why didn't you buy from me?
What did she answer?
She still didn't buy from me. She just told me that she just didn't see the need for it. And then that's when I knew that was what was wrong with all of my appointments, was that they just didn't see the need for it right away. So that's why urgency is so big with me, because that's what I failed at when I first started. And so everybody's got to find their light switch. So for all the new people, just keep going. Just keep going. Don't focus on the things that you're doing right. Focus on the things that you're not doing right. Because what you're doing right naturally comes to you. What you're not doing right isn't. So just focus on those things.
Okay. Now, in the past year, you've had a little baby boy?
Yes.
How long after you gave birth were you back out selling?
Oh, I called April. I said, April, I remember this. I said, how long do I have to sit with my baby? How long do I got to do this? And she had said 3 months. She said, you need to be home for 3 months. So I stayed home for 3 months. And after 3 months, I was on demos.
Back and rolling. Fantastic. So yeah, now you have the baby. Okay, so you still do demos. You still do phone closing. You still do training. You still help around the office. You're back and forth between Brandon and Nipawin and Winnipeg. You're a little bit everywhere. What does your typical day look like?
You guys are gonna think I'm crazy.
That ship has sailed, honey. That ship has sailed.
So a typical day in the life of Taylor Kilborn. Luca wakes up. Well, I'll wake up at 7:30. I have to wake up at 7:30 every morning because that's when I get to shower. That's my only time. After that, I have to get his lunch packed. Now having a baby, that's weird. Dressing him, getting him all ready, making sure he has extra clothes, and then I leave my apartment, drop him off at a sitter. I'm very, very fortunate. I have a lovely, lovely, lovely sitter that watches him for 10 hours. I could not be more grateful to this woman because she makes my life so much easier. And I'll go to the office, get the day all ready, have a morning meeting with the marketers, then have another meeting with the safety advisors, have another meeting with Brett sometimes if he's there, that he knows what's going on. And then the day begins and you get everybody rocked out of the house, out of the office with everything that they need. And then first appointment starts. And then it's like that. And then around 7:30, I got to go pick Luca up. So I'm taking closing calls all the way to her house in my car. And then I pick him up. And then if it's taking him to Brett, if it's taking him to his grandpa's house, if it's taking him to another sitter for a couple hours, and then pick him up again. And then I'm home for the rest of the night. Taking calls.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Here's a really good question. Okay, you've done the training. I'm a new trainee. I've gone out and done my friends and family on the weekend. It's Monday. You're having a meeting with me. You're going to tell me, hey, Carmen, you're brand new. You have no experience. Here's what I want you to focus on for the first 2 weeks. What would that be?
Demo. It would be the 4 things I teach them in training. Warm up, alarm kill, walk through, and then close. I make sure that they understand that all the numbers that I'm showing them on being successful isn't going to happen if they don't master these first 3. So if it's going home, watching the videos, asking questions, taking notes, whatever the case may be, I would say, Carmen, you really need to focus on these 3 things.
Fantastic. Love it. Now, you have always pushed yourself. Now, many will say that your reason why is Luca, but you were ambitious and aggressive before Luca came along. So were you always this way, or do you train yourself to push? Always be pushing.
You know what? I've always been like that. And I can thank my dad for that. My dad was always the type of person that didn't let you feel like I was better than anybody. He always said, you know what, Taylor, you're not that great. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, he'd always tell me, oh, you're gonna fail at this math test, because he knew that I would prove him wrong. He did that, the very good reverse psychology on me my whole life. So I would say it's always been there. It just came out more with sales, because then you got other people around you, more competition. So it was always like, okay, you got to push, keep going. Fantastic. And your goals. I've never had goals before. This is a big thing. Before I started sales, I've never, ever did goals. Now goals are very, very important. I'm still like learning how to get better at them. Long-term goals. I'm really good with my short-term, not so much long-term, but definitely goals.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Now, growing up, did you ever dream you would run your own business?
Nope. My dad still to this day too. Like, I've told you this, Carmen, but I've also told a couple other people. My family is 9 to 5. 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5. Being from a small town, 9 to 5. Once it's done, it's family time. You know, weekends off. Find yourself something with great benefits. That's what I grew up. So I never, ever imagined working for myself, working to have a business, because it was always, okay, you got to find your 9 to 5 job, Taylor. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? Do you want to work at a grocery store for 30 years? No. And no, I don't.
So, cashier manager wouldn't be the big goal to have?
Yeah. Woo-hoo. Let's run co-op. No, I've never, ever thought in a million years that I would be where I am today.
Okay. You've overcome a lot of adversity. What advice would you give to people who struggle or who are struggling and think of giving up?
Well, have somebody that keeps you accountable, I think, is the biggest thing. Find somebody to keep you accountable, to have that flame under your ass, and make sure that they know what motivates you. This is a type of thing that I've realized that you cannot be as great alone. You can't be great alone. You have to have the people that keep the fire under your ass. If it wasn't for my mentors and my motivators, I'd still be in Nipua sitting. Sometimes, like, you know, how many times Brett's pulled me out of moments. Like, I'm no perfect. I get my breakdowns and my frustrations. And I'll go away, but, you know, I've had the people there that have brought me back and said, you know what, Taylor, no, like, come on, let's get going. So if you're struggling, have somebody there that's going to be there for you, that's going to be able to keep the flame under your butt, that knows what motivates you. I'll always ask all my people, what are the things that motivate you? Because I want to know. So when they are struggling, I can remind them. I can be there right for them.
Fantastic. Love it. Love that answer. Now, you've done a few different direct sale businesses. How is OmniShield different, and what do you like most about this opportunity?
Recruiting is the biggest one that pops into my head right away. Selling vacuum cleaners, you won't recruit nobody.
Well, we got a couple.
Oh, I can never convince somebody to come and sell a $4,000 vacuum and clean people's houses for free if you DNS. I couldn't. Water was a little bit harder because you got to know a script. You know, you'd bring them in, but they're like, why am I, like, I'm not no theatrical person. I'm not going to memorize this 6-page script verbatim. So that was harder too. But with this, I love that the flip book is this, like, you know, you have the flip book. It's very easy. There's more purpose with OmniShield as well. Into why you're doing this. I love knowing that as a safety advisor, you're not just there for a sale. You're not there just to clean somebody's house. It's not a luxury item. OmniShield is not a luxury item. It's definitely a necessity. So that's what I love the most about OmniShield, is knowing that you have a product in your hand that is actually something that does something really useful, other than just get all the dirt out of somebody's carpet or make their water taste really great. It actually will save somebody's life.
Fantastic. Now, Mike Mock actually contacted with Brett, and then he contacted with me and told me where Brett was and if I was able to get a chance to bake there. And it turns out that Brett was staying at his mom's house in the same small town that my dad lives in, Quebec. So I came down and did a demonstration for you and Brett. After I left, you guys had decided to join as the dealers. But you also made some sales in Montreal before you moved back to Winnipeg. How did you guys find those customers? What did you guys do with that product, and how did you get that thing started in Montreal in that basement little ass apartment?
Oh, that was a fun time. So we, after seeing with you, Brett and I sat down and we had watched the training videos, and we were obviously, okay, yeah, we can do this. Like, this is easy. Like, we thought this compared to water was so much easier. Brett, obviously everybody knows Brett loves the fact about having the recruits as well, but as well as leads. Leads are very easy with this first responder program. Like, that's what really got him excited. For me, I was just thinking, like, wow, this is easy. Like, this is great. So when we decided, it was kind of just a split moment. We're just like, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's give it a try. Why not? It's a lot better. The product is a lot better. There's lots of pros to OmniShield compared to water, obviously. So we went out, and I remember our first sale, the lady didn't even let us into the home. So that was like oh gosh, okay, here we go. We did the whole demo on her porch. She was the nicest lady though. I will never ever forget that lady. She ended up calling us back and paying it out on Visa. But, you know, and the reasons why she gave us to why she invested was actually really the reasons that solidified me doing this, because she was an older lady. She was just a single lady on her own. And just to know that, pardon?
How did you find her?
We found her. How did we get our leads at the start? I don't even remember, Carmen, how we found her. I can't remember the things that we were using.
But you did the demo on the porch?
Yeah. And then, so how we got there, I can't remember how we got there. You'll have to ask Brett on that one. But the reason why she bought, because she had, she's a little bit, had a disability. She couldn't move as fast. So hearing that from her, that, you know, this is really going to help her get out faster, I'm like, okay, like this is really neat. And then we just kept doing demos, and we were selling. It was really easy. It was a lot easier of a sale. We protected, I think, 5 families before we left in the 2 weeks that we were there.
Yeah, you're kicking butt real quick. No question about that. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe you'll be the #1 dealer in the world one day?
Yeah.
In our lifetime?
I do. You men got a lot of competition. April's right there too. But I'm ready to take Brett down. There would be nothing better, nothing more satisfying than seeing my name over top of his.
And I think he'd get a lot of satisfaction out of that as well. No question about it. But you know how hard you're going to have to work to do that one.
No, I'm ready.
He ain't giving it up. He's a dog with a bone. He ain't giving that bone up. Not at all. Okay, here's a final question, Taylor, and I really appreciate everything today. So this is probably a little bit of a different question, but also similar to some of the other questions. Being young and a woman, people probably don't take you seriously very often. How do you handle it, and what advice would you give to other young people and young women?
For a young woman, it's how you hold yourself. It's definitely how you hold yourself. Dress as much as the product is worth. I've definitely learned that, you know, and be sharp. Being a young woman, even when you're going on demos, people don't really want to take you that seriously when you're 20 years old. When you're 21, they're like, okay, what's this kid got? But if you really care about what you're doing, and you're sharp and you're knowledgeable and you're dressed to success, and when you're in training, when you become a young trainer, I had a lot of gentlemen, you know, if they were Carmen's age, if they were just, you know, not to put men down, but you guys don't really look at women much as like a, you know, high business lady, but put them in their place, put your foot down, talk about your success, talk about why you were there, so that they can get a respect for you, so that they're like, okay, like this chick is a boss. You know, that's really what you want. And if you think you're a boss, then you're going to be a boss. And awesome. I've always lived by the quote, I will, watch me. I've always lived. I can, I will, watch me.
Love it.
I don't know if that's just the smart ass in me or what it is, but I love it.
I can, I will, watch me. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Taylor, you're very young, very, very ambitious, aggressive, very successful. You tick all of the boxes. There's no question. I think that you're going to do an awesome job as a dealer. And I can tell you honestly, I travel a lot and I visit a lot of offices, and there's a lot of people who talk about you and ask, you know, what's Taylor really like? What's Taylor, you know, how's Taylor doing now? So for a young lady, you are a role model for a lot of people who are much older, for both men and women. And I want to thank you for that. So I guess we're going to leave it on this note. If you have one message you'd like to give to the international lifesavers, what would it be?
One message. Remember, you're a safety advisor first. I think that's the biggest thing. When anybody is in a slump, when anybody is, you know, forgetting, it's easy. You do demos all the time. I've been doing demos for 4 years. You know, like it's easy to get caught up in what you're doing repetitively, but remember soulfully why you're there. You're a safety advisor first. And once your customer sees that you genuinely care about it and care about you and what you're doing, the close, it's nothing. You know, it's literally a whirlwind. So just remember your purpose and remember your passion and be a safety advisor.
Well, Taylor, I want to thank you very much for this morning's interview. It was absolutely awesome. You were spot on. There were great answers. I know a lot of people got a lot of great things out of it, and there was some great questions. And I want to thank everybody who sends these questions in. It really makes a difference, and it makes it so much easier for us to get to know people, what makes them tick, but also what makes them successful. And there's no question, you're right on that. So thank you very much. We're going to be giving 2 copies of a book out. It's called Wake Up Call. And it's a 10-step program to start your day. I believe more than anything, if someone says, what's the biggest secret to success? I believe starting early, getting up early, getting your day going, have most of your day already rocking before most people are just starting. And that makes a big difference. Well, I've got 2 copies of it. There's going to be 2 winners. 3 questions again. Number 1, What drives Sue Jenna Santiago each day? What drives Sue Jenna Santiago each day? Number 2, Bill, what is one thing, Bill Siddock's interview, what is one thing every person should work on continuously? What is the one thing he said that every person should work on continuously? And number 3, in David Carter's training video, okay, the customer says, you feel safer because you're in a new home. What video is that the customer says, you feel safer because you're in a new home? David Carter's training video. Those are the 3 questions. Let's get those answers. Taylor, thank you so much. Absolutely awesome, girl. You did a bang-up job. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call today. Let's have an awesome, awesome day.
Toodaloo.